You know, when you're passionate about something, you know, when people can't get up in the morning and they can't get out of bed, I'm going to tell you why. Because they can predict the feeling of everything that's going to happen in their life. And their body's resigned to the familiar. It says, oh, another mundane day. But remember when you were a kid and you were going on a field trip? What happened then? You were up and dressed and ready to go before your parents were up. You know why? Because you knew something unexpected was going to happen. That's how we should live our lives. Waking up with the understanding to expect the unexpected, and something unusual should happen in our life as a result of our efforts. And it's just those beginning moments where it begins to happen that we begin to prove to ourselves how powerful we really are. So take time in the morning and the evening and the rest of the day, check in with yourself at certain times to see if you're still in that energy. And if you're not, excuse yourself for a second, raise your energy and step back into your life. Keep doing that over and over again. You'll become less frustrated, less impatient, less judgmental. It will just become something of the past and you'll be someone else. By the way, it's very interesting because that bewitching hour between 1 and 4 in the morning is when melatonin levels are at their height. And that is that verge of the mystical. That's when our brain waves are in alpha, we're in that creative state, and even in theta, we're in that, we're actually piercing the veil where we're actually in contact with more information because you're too tired for your analytical mind to really care. The analytical mind just finally gives up, and if you just get past that hump, and all of a sudden you get a second wind. And a lot of my friends that are musicians and artists, they love that evening time. That's the time they create. And me, I like to wake up when everybody's asleep at 4 in the morning or 4:30 in the morning. It's quiet and I can start my day really fresh. That's just me personally. But it's the same principle. You wake up in the morning, you go to bed at night, your brain waves are changing, your brain chemistry changes. The door between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is wide open. I think that in order for us to truly change, we have to get beyond ourselves. And that is one of the arts of transformation. And with the moment we are completely in the present moment, we cannot be running a program. It turns out, coincidentally, when we're truly in the present moment, all possibilities in the quantum field exist in the eternal now. So when we're truly present and we take our attention off our body, off of people in our lives, off of things, off of places, and even time, that's the moment, as I said today, we become pure consciousness. That's the moment now we are no longer playing by the laws of Newtonian physics. That's the moment we no longer have our attention invested in this three-dimensional reality. And where we place our attention is where we place our energy. So then the moment we become nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, and no time, that's the moment we get beyond ourselves. It is that act of being in the present moment that allows us to see new possibilities that we could never see from the place where we are stuck in our own programs and personality. The act of doing that, as Bruce said, is a skill, and it requires feedback. And feedback happens in a couple ways. One way you get feedback is to begin to measure the changes you see in your life. Another way is that you feel differently. Another way is that the voice in your head goes away. It's telling you it's too hard, you'll never change. This process, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And yet we are piercing a veil where people are waking up and they're beginning to take their power back. We already innately know how to do this. All we have to do is keep practicing until we start seeing those wonderful, wonderful feedback mechanisms happening in our life. The moment you start seeing those changes taking place in your life, you are going to pay attention to what you did to cause it. The moment you pay attention to the cause of that action, you're no longer thinking that it's something out there that did it. You're beginning to realize it's what you did inside of you to produce it. That's when we begin to take our power back. So making the act of getting beyond ourselves, finding the present moment, people unfolding into this unified field, that field of information. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. it actually is, the only way you can experience it is not with your senses, but with your awareness. And so then as you begin to put more and more attention on it, what you place your attention on expands. You begin to notice more of it, and you begin to feel more connected to it, and you start feeling more whole. And the side effect of that then is you feel less separate from your dreams. And if you feel less separate from your dreams, and you get up feeling gratitude, and you feel in love with life and a joy for existence, you would never wonder when it was going to happen. You feel like it already happened. And then all your job then is to not try to analyze and think about when it's going to happen, because the moment you do that, you return back to the old self. The new self would never think that way. So then it's a practice. And just like practicing a golf swing, or practicing a guitar, or practicing complaining, you just get good at it after a while. But the same mechanisms work in the same way. And so then as we begin to change the way we think and feel on a daily basis, the hardest part about all of this is that mindfulness, is that metacognition. It's the act of thinking about what you've been thinking about. And the more conscious you become of your unconscious thoughts, your automatic behaviors, and your conditioned emotional responses, the more aware and conscious you become of them, the less unconscious you go in your life. But most people don't like to feel that discomfort. They'd rather turn on the TV. They'd rather surf the internet. They'd rather get on the phone or text because it distracts them from that feeling. But the question is, you could do it now or you can do it later. And so finally people are waking up to say, hey, I'm not going to wait for that moment. Every day I'm going to start to become a scientist in my life and to measure the effects of immediate cause. And it's just the process of doing it where things begin to fall away in your life and new opportunities begin to show up, and you start making those correlations and connections. The empowerment that you feel increases your belief in possibility. And when you begin to increase your belief in possibility, you trust in the unknown. Can't trust in the unknown when you're living in survival. The unknown is a scary place in survival. We are conditioned to run from something that's unknown. But yet, when you are truly in that elegant state, and your heart is open, and your mind is clear, and your brain is coherent, the unknown becomes an adventure. And now we have to lay down the very thing we used our whole life to get what we want for something greater to occur. And that means that we don't have to go and get it. If we truly change our energy, we draw the experience to us. And now that's when it gets fun.